Hi gentlemen, in this video we are going to be exploring the topic of price elasticity of demand. And by the end of this video you should be able to define that, to explain the different types of elasticity. There are several. You will be able to use the elasticity formula and interpret what's called an elasticity coefficient, and be able to explain the different factors that affect the elasticity of a particular product. Okay, so there's a lot to cover. Let's get straight into it, and let's start by defining this concept of elasticity from an economics perspective. So let's start with that up here. I might need to refocus this camera. Okay, I'm just going to write this down, and then hopefully that's going to refocus, which it will. There we go. So what is elasticity from an economics perspective? Now, elasticity is the relative amount that one variable changes given a change in another variable. And I'll explain what this means. Okay, there's our textbook definition of elasticity. So this is what it means. One thing changes and that brings about a change in something else. Okay, it's about two things that are dependent on each other and that change simultaneously. What does that mean for us? Well, we can talk about elasticity of demand in the sense that when price changes, see, that's one variable, price. When price changes, that brings about a change in quantity demanded. Okay, so if we think about the law of demand, there's an inverse relationship between price and quantity demanded. When the price goes up, quantity demanded goes down. See, there's been a change in one variable, price, which has led to a change in another variable, quantity demanded. Okay, so that is price elasticity of demand. Okay, that being the responsiveness of quantity demanded to a change in price. Okay, they are the two variables that you can see there. The variables being price and quantity demanded. Price elasticity of demand. Now, here's what we need to get straight from the onset. Think of elasticity as a spectrum. On one side of the spectrum, you have products where price changing has very little to maybe no effect on quantity demanded. Then you have other products on the completely opposite side of the spectrum, where if price changes even a little bit, quantity demanded will change a hell of a lot. Okay. Now, to group these different types of, I guess, price elasticity, we come up with two key terms that you need to be aware of, which I might just jot on a spectrum. I don't know if this is going to work, but let's just give it a go anyway. So let's put on one side of the spectrum something called, we want to call it price inelasticity, or no, we'll call it inelastic demand. Okay, so inelastic demand is on one side of our elasticity spectrum. On the other side of the spectrum, let's put elastic demand. Okay, now, what do these key terms mean? Let's start with inelastic demand. Inelastic demand would be a situation where when the price increases, it leads to a less than proportional decrease in quantity demanded. So for inelastic demand, the price can go up a hell of a lot, but very little happens to quantity demanded. Okay, let's just get a proper definition down. Inelastic demand is where the percentage, let me just straighten that up, where the percentage change in, now that little triangle there is just means change in. So where the percentage change in quantity demanded is less than the percentage change in price. So an inelastic demand would be a situation where the price may go up by 10%, but quantity demanded may only go down by 2%. Okay, the price goes up, less than proportional decrease in quantity demanded. The product has inelastic demand. On the other side of the spectrum, we have the opposite of this. We have elastic demand. Now, elastic demand will be a situation where the percentage change in quantity demanded is more or greater than the percentage change in price. So for elastic demand, we have a situation where the price may go up by, the price goes up by 5%, but quantity demanded drops by 20%. Okay, so the percentage change in quantity demanded is more than the percentage change in price. Now, let's think about this using examples. I think examples just sort of make everything a little bit clearer. An example of a product which might have inelastic demand could be something like petrol. And let's break that down. Petrol, actually, while I'm filming this video, petrol's actually hit its 20-year low in Australia at 95 cents a litre due to the coronavirus. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. Let's take petrol. Petrol is a need. It has lots of complementary goods that need petrol in order to run, like lawnmowers, cars, etc. It's a part of our daily life. It's a necessity. So therefore, even if the price of petrol were to skyrocket, we will still need to purchase petrol. Okay. Therefore, this would be an example of something with inelastic demand. The price of petrol may go up by 20%, but demand might only drop by 5%. Because at the end of the day, I've got to fill up the tank if I'm going to drive to work. Okay, it's as simple as that. Whether I like it or not, I need it. I demand the good. An example of something which might have more elastic demand is more something that if the price goes up, I'm not going to want it anymore. And I'm going to swap to something that's a close substitute. So, for example, the different brands of ice cream. Okay, the different brands. Oh, I'm off the screen now. There we go. The different brands of ice cream. Now, I go to Coles, I go to Woolies, go up to the ice cream section. Boom, Cornettos have gone up to $10 a box. I'm like, well, I love a Cornetto, but not gonna buy one now. Instead, I'm going to look right next door to the Cornettos where they're selling the frozen Mars bars. Boom, I'm going to grab one of those instead. Okay. If the price of Cornettos goes up, see you later. I'm going to go and purchase something else. I'm going to purchase a close substitute. The demand for ice cream brands is more elastic, okay, because it can be easily substituted and it's less of a need. So there are some examples that hopefully clarify the difference between inelastic and elastic demand. Now there are, or maybe there aren't, but how about this? Theoretically, you can land right in the middle of this spectrum, okay? And so that's right here is what I'm referring to, right in the middle of the spectrum. We would call that unit elastic demand. Now, what unit elastic demand is a situation where the price may change by 1% and then demand changes by 1%. It's proportional. So there's a proportional change in price and quantity demanded. All right, it's literally 1 for 1. Okay, so I can't think of an example of anything that's unit elastic. I think it's more of a theoretical concept, but nonetheless, unit elastic, 1% increase in price would lead to a 1% decrease in quantity demanded. It's neither inelastic or elastic, it's unit elastic. Okay, that's the idea there. Now that we understand the definitions of some of the key terms, it's time to start looking at how we can actually calculate elasticity. So to determine whether something is more inelastic or elastic, we can just use our general knowledge, but we can also use actual data and figures to actually determine, well, you know what, this particular product is more inelastic, okay? We can actually use numbers to work this out. Now to do that, we're going to look at a few demand curves, all right? I've just drawn up a few in preparation for this video. So here are a few demand curves here that we're going to start looking at. We've got 3 scenarios that we're going to look into. We've got the demand for T-bone steaks, we've got the demand for mobile phones, and we've got the demand for cigarettes, okay? Each with their own downward sloping demand curve. Now we can calculate the elasticity of these products. And to do that, we use the price elasticity formula. The price elasticity formula is this. Okay, so price elasticity, that's what that symbol I've copied down, the elasticity of price, is equal to the change in quantity divided by quantity, okay, that is then divided by the change in price divided by the price. Might put these in brackets so that you solve those first before you divide quantity by price. Now, this formula, this price elasticity formula, is going to spit out a price elasticity coefficient, okay? And we'll analyze those coefficients in a sec. First, let's take this first product and let's say that the price of T-bone steaks is going from, let's say it's going from $3 a steak and it's going to $4. Okay, there's our change in price. Let's use that as the example. Now, what's happening? So here's $3. Okay, that was our original price. Our new price is now $4. Okay. What are the corresponding quantity figures? Well, there they are. And just so I make this nice and clear, I'm going to label the original price and quantity P1 and Q1, and I'm going to label the new price and the new quantity P2 and Q2. Okay. Now, let's substitute what's happening into our formula. Okay. So let's start with the change in quantity. As price has changed, gone from $3 to $4, quantity has gone from, we've demanded 4 T-bone steaks down to 2 T-bone steaks. Okay. The change in quantity is 2. For quantity there, I'm going to look at the original quantity. The original quantity was 4. So, that I've just done the first part up here. It's 2 divided by 4. And then we divide that by the change in price. Well, the change in price, it's only gone up by $1. Okay, it's 1. Divided by the price, I'm going to use the original price, which was 3. So we chuck that in the calculator. Okay. 2/4 divided by 1/3, boom, 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 chuck it in the calculator, and what do you get? You get 1.5. 1.5 is our elasticity coefficient. Now, here's how we can analyze the coefficient, right? If the coefficient is equal to 0, then that product is closer to being inelastic. Okay? If the product, and it'll be inelastic so long as the coefficient is between 0 and 0.99999. So basically, what I should say, I'm not explaining it well. If the coefficient is less than 1, it's inelastic. Okay, that's what I should have said. If the coefficient is less than 1, it's inelastic. If the coefficient is 1, then that product is unit elastic. And if the coefficient is more than 1, is greater than 1, then that product is elastic. Okay, less than 1, inelastic. More than 1, elastic. Okay, that's how we can analyze the coefficient. I didn't do a great job at explaining that. So here we have a result that's yielded 1.5. So it's more than 1. T-bone steaks have an elastic demand. What does that mean? It means that there's a more than proportional change in quantity demanded resulting from a change in price. Why is this happening? Well, it's because T-bone steaks, they're more of a want, and there's plenty of close substitutes out there. If T-bone steaks get more expensive, I'll just get a different cut of steak. You know, I'll get a Scotch fillet, an eye fillet, whatever. I'll get a different type of meat altogether. It's not hard. It's not hard to replace this product. So it makes sense that the elasticity would yield a coefficient of more than 1. It's an easily substituted product. Okay. Now let's take another example. This second one here, we have mobile phones. Okay. Once again, we could try and just think about it ourselves, or is it elastic? Is it inelastic? And we might come up with an answer there, or we can rely on the data to get a more accurate response. So once again, we take the elasticity formula. Okay. Price elasticity is equal to a change in quantity divided by quantity divided by a change in price divided by price. Okay, there's our formula. Again, let's use the same figures. Let's say that price is going from $3 to $4. I know that's not accurate for a mobile phone, but why overcomplicate it? Okay, why? Let's just keep it simple. So what's going on here? Okay, price was $3, it's now $4. Okay, price 1, price 2. Let's have a look at quantity. All right, it's gone from, we've demanded 3, that was original quantity demanded. Now we only demand 2, that's the new quantity demanded. Okay, So let's plug in all the information we have. The change in quantity is the difference between 3 and 2, okay, which is obviously 1. The original quantity was 3. The change in price, okay, the change in price is 3 to 4, so that's the difference between 3 and 4 is 1. The original price was 3. Okay, this is going to be unit elastic. And the reason I know this is going to be unit elastic is because when you plug that into the calculator, it's going to yield a result of 1. Okay, you plug that into the calculator, it's going to give you 1. So unit elastic, like I said before, price has gone up by 1%, quantity demanded's gone down by 1%. Okay, it's unit elastic. So let's think about mobile phones. You know, if the price of the iPhone goes up by another 10%, people can relatively easily switch to other brands, but some people will still be loyal to the Apple brand. So an increase in price of 10% will result in a decrease of quantity demanded by 10%. Some people will stick with the brand, other people will change. It's how it is. The last example there is cigarettes. Now, let's say the price of cigarettes gone from $3 to $4. Okay, just for simplicity's sake, we're using simple numbers, 3 to 4. Okay, price 1, price 2. So we've got quantity. Okay, all right, interesting. Quantity demanded 1, quantity demanded 2. Now, I'm going to say quantity, the new quantity demanded, I'm going to say that's 2.5. It looks pretty damn close. Okay, it's halfway in between 2 and 3. It's 2.5. So, for the final time, let's use our formula. Price elasticity is equal to the change in quantity divided by quantity. Divide that by the change in price divided by price. All right, let's plug in the variables. The change in quantity, well, quantity demanded's gone down by only 0.5. Difference between 3 and 2.5. Okay, 0.5 change in quantity demanded. The original quantity demanded was 3. I believe that's the same as 1 over 6. It doesn't matter. I don't know why I said that. Anyway, divide that by the change in price. Price has gone up by $1. The original price was 3. Okay. Fun fact, in Australia, $1 of every individual cigarette is a government excise. Again, useless knowledge. So, you chuck it in the calculator, it will yield a coefficient of 1.5. Okay. It's greater than 1, therefore, it is I'm an idiot. You chuck it in the calculator, you do not get 1.5. You get 0.5. Okay? That's how that made no sense. Sorry. You plug that into the calculator, you get 0.5. It is less than 1, so cigarettes are inelastic. Now, usually inelastic products are needs that even when the price goes up, we are compelled to buy them. But it's not just needs that are inelastic. Items which are addictive or behaviors which are addictive also have inelastic demand. Because even though the price of cigarette cartons goes up and up and up every year due to government excises, people still demand them because they're addictive. The same if we had to pay to get into a casino. Right? People would still pay because gambling is addictive. Okay, that's the idea. Alcohol, same logic, right? All these products would have inelastic demand because they're habit forming, because they're addictive. So yeah, cigarettes are definitely inelastic. They might get more expensive. Doesn't necessarily mean that people who are addicted are going to buy less of them. Not at all. So there we go. Cigarettes are inelastic. What you've probably noticed on your own, if the demand curve has a very gentle slope, like this one, it's probably elastic. If the demand curve has a very steep slope, it's probably inelastic. But you can't always just look at the curve and say, oh yeah, that's definitely inelastic or otherwise. Because in reality, the demand and supply curves in the real world, they actually curve. They're not linear. See how these are all linear? Right, they're just straight lines? No. They're almost parabolic in a sense that a real demand curve, price, quantity, will actually look like this, right? That's a real demand curve, okay? And because the line actually curves, then depending on what prices we choose, all right, they will yield a different elasticity coefficient. Like you take this segment here, let's say that's $3 to $4, okay, this segment will probably be inelastic just by looking at the slope of the line. But if we were to take these two prices, let's say that was $1 and $2, right? If we take this segment here, then that might be elastic. So it depends on what prices we're looking at will determine whether it's elastic or inelastic or unit elastic. Okay. Although in unit one of economics, we will not be looking at these curved demand curves. Okay, at least not now. That's something to keep for the future. So hopefully, the calculating of elasticity is pretty straightforward. You need to memorize the formula and also be able to interpret the coefficient. Okay. I think the last thing we need to look at for this little video is let's look at some of the factors that affect the elasticity of a product. Okay, what will basically determine whether it's more inelastic or elastic demand. All right, so factors, can you see that? Here we go. Factors affecting price elasticity of demand. Okay. So, a few things we consider when determining if something is more elastic or inelastic. Okay. First and foremost, okay, are there substitutes for that product? Okay, the availability of substitutes. So, if something has lots of close substitutes, it's more likely to be elastic. The demand is more likely to be elastic. If something does not have close substitutes, it's more likely to be inelastic. So before we looked at, for example, the different brands of ice cream, because there's so many brands of ice cream, there are so many substitutes, it is most likely to be elastic. Okay. Another factor, and we've probably touched on some of these, but it's good to get a list together anyway. Another factor could be complementary goods. Complementary goods. All right, so in what sense? Well, you guys already know that complementary goods are two things that go together. They naturally are used, or one must be used with the other. So let's take, for example, electricity. Electricity. Okay, electricity. Electricity will most likely have inelastic demand because it's a complementary good for so many things that we use on a day-to-day basis. If you want to turn the lights on, if you want to use the internet, if you want to charge your mobile phone, you need electricity. If your hot water is powered using electricity, if you have electricity appliances like stoves and ovens in your house, then because of the breadth of complementary goods, electricity is most likely going to be inelastic. And if the price of electricity jumps, probably still going to demand almost just as much as we used to. Okay, what's another factor? Okay, is it a necessity? Necessities. For example, now let's take milk, bread. God, there must be heaps. Milk, bread, accommodation, vegetables, and even medicine. Okay? Milk, bread, accommodation, vegetables, medicines, these things we simply need. They are such a big part of our daily lives, whether we consume them, well, we consume all of them actually. Milk, bread, vegetables, accommodation, even if your rent goes up or your mortgage repayments go up, well, you need somewhere to live. So you will find a way of paying for them. Okay, you'll find a way to pay for accommodation. With medicine, all right, if you're diabetic and you need frequent insulin, then the price of insulin goes up. Well, you're paying for it. Okay, you're going to pay for it. If you have hay fever and your favorite hay fever medicine goes up in price, you're going to pay for it. Okay, they will be more inelastic because they're necessities. Just a couple more factors. Another one could be our consumer priorities. Okay, based on how much importance we place on something will determine how we respond to a change in price. For example, let's take clothing and entertainment. Okay, clothing and entertainment. If entertainment is something which you individually prioritize really highly, that you absolutely love Netflix, you love Stan, these are things that you just can't live without. Could you physically live without them? Yes, but you prioritize them highly, then they're probably going to be inelastic demand if the prices were to change. Okay, but most people probably don't prioritize fancy clothing and entertainment very highly, given that they're not needs, they're more wants. So for most people, if a particular type of clothing goes up in price, they'll forego it for something else. It's more elastic. And probably the last one that we'll just focus on, the last factor which might affect elasticity, will be whether they are habit forming or are they addictive, is what I'm trying to get at. Are they addictive goods or services? Okay. Like I said before, with cigarettes, if it's addictive, it's going to be inelastic demand because you're going to be willing to pay for it because you are addicted. Habit forming in the sense that it's become integral to your day-to-day operations, like a cup of coffee in the morning. Okay, I cannot start my day without a cup of coffee. The price of coffee goes up, yeah, I will pay 50 cents, $1, $2 extra a day to get a coffee because it's a habit that has been formed. All right, that's what that means. So here are just 5 factors that can affect the elasticity of demand for a product. Okay, and that's just a general overview of this topic of elasticity. Okay, once again, just like always, please refer to the relevant pages of the textbook, refer to the PowerPoint slides. The main takeaway from this class is being able to define elasticity and the different types, being able to look at a graph, look at a model, and be able to calculate the elasticity coefficient and interpret the coefficient. And finally, understanding some of the common factors which affect elasticity. All right, gentlemen, best of luck.